This is the most mysterious body of water on Earth. You can't even find it on a map. For centuries, no one has been able to pinpoint its exact location. But we've all heard the stories. This is the legendary Bermuda Triangle. Shrouded in mystery, it has spawned some of the most bizarre conspiracy theories in human history. This anomalous sea is widely considered the deadliest, most dangerous, and most confusing place on the planet. So, how did an area not even officially recognized become so infamous? Over the centuries, ships and people have vanished within this invisible triangle. It has claimed countless lives of those passing through or even flying over it. People write books and make documentaries about it. Scientists scramble to explain the seemingly inexplicable phenomena in these treacherous waters. What exactly triggered this chain of tragedies? Why would 20 planes, 50 ships, and hundreds of people vanish into thin air? Is it just a geographical coincidence? Or is there a more sinister, eerie power hiding in the deep? Next, I'll take you on an expedition into this infamous Devil's Triangle. We'll look at what actually happened here throughout history. We'll explore how it got its fame. Then, we'll dive into all the theories. From Atlantis and rogue waves, to magnetic declination and hidden toxic gases rising from the deep, finally, we'll cut straight to the core. We'll use a massive amount of current scientific data to deconstruct this incredibly bizarre region. First, if you try to find the Bermuda Triangle, you'll realize it's simply not on any map. The US government has never officially recognized its existence, even though it borders American waters. So where is it? Unofficially, the Bermuda Triangle is located in the North Atlantic. Its general boundaries are drawn by connecting the southeastern US coast, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Interestingly, its exact borders have never been agreed upon. Estimates of its total area range from 130,000 to 390,000 square kilometers. That's a massive margin of error of nearly 260,000 square kilometers. This area is roughly triangular, but it could be isosceles, scalene, or even look more like a diamond if you adjust the borders. I guess Bermuda rhombus just didn't sound catchy enough. In the 80s and 90s, this topic fed countless tabloid magazines. However, there's a massive loophole in their content. They only talk about the accidents that happened here, but no one mentions that this area lacks fixed boundaries. Different historical records have completely different accounts. Trying to calculate exact casualty and disappearance numbers for an area whose borders have constantly shifted for centuries is practically impossible. Actually, the earliest record dates back 5 centuries to Christopher Columbus. In 1492, Columbus set sail from Spain with 3 ships. He crossed the Atlantic seeking a western route to Asia and the New World. After 10 weeks at sea, they finally spotted land. They stepped onto a small island in the Bahamas and named it San Salvador. To get there, he was most likely the first person to cross the Sargasso Sea, essentially the Bermuda Triangle. At the very least, he was the first to return and tell everyone about it. You might think the mystery started right here. After all, he did share his experiences. Shortly after his death, his compiled ship logs were translated. The first recorded anomaly occurred in September 1492. Columbus's log showed something messing with his compass. By nightfall, the compass pointed northwest. By dawn, it shifted slightly northeast. A few days later, he recorded massive waves swelling the sea. Most bizarrely, he described seeing a light on the horizon. It flickered like a candle flame, too faint to be certain if it was northwest. The small flame bobbed up and down for a few seconds. It almost seemed to hint at land ahead. Imagine hearing these stories 500 years ago. Back then, the Americas hadn't truly been discovered. Most of the world map was marked as unexplored. You can easily understand how captivating these tales, legends, and mysteries were to people at the time. Fast forward to the early 17th century. A British ship named the Sea Venture set sail. Its mission was to resupply the struggling Jamestown colony. Near the uninhabited islands of Bermuda, the fleet was struck by a hurricane. The ship was destroyed, and the crew was stranded on a deserted island. There was nothing inherently mystical about this event, but as desperate sailors clung to the wreckage of their once proud ship, they inevitably thought of the eerie events already associated with these waters. Many believe this exact shipwreck inspired William Shakespeare to write The Tempest. In the play, he refers to Bermuda as a cursed place full of disasters. Bermuda became famous overnight. One of the most bizarre encounters occurred in 1881. Legend has it that a cargo ship named the Ellen Austin was sailing from Liverpool to New York. It carried passengers hoping to immigrate to America. Inside the Bermuda Triangle, they spotted a ghost ship. The captain had sailed into the storm-prone Sargasso Sea to take a shortcut. Right there, they encountered a strangely silent sailing ship. It was completely empty. Oddly enough, it was fully loaded with valuable cargo. It sat there, almost like bait, waiting to be found. And the Ellen Austin's crew took the bait. To salvage the ship and its cargo, they decided to bring it back to New York. They sent a few of their bravest crew members over, planning to sail both ships back together. However, as they continued through the Sargasso Sea, a massive storm hit. Fierce winds and treacherous waves separated the two vessels. The Ellen Austin lost track of the newly manned ghost ship. When the skies finally cleared, the surviving sailors began searching for their crewmates. Captain Griffin spotted the ship. He shouted to his men, but received no response. That eerie silence enveloped the second ship once again. Several crew members boarded it to investigate. There were no signs of life. Their crewmates had vanished without a trace. But Captain Griffin didn't give up. He ordered a second batch of sailors to board the nameless ghost ship and sail for New York. For several nights, everything seemed fine. Both ships were heading toward their destination. But when a thick fog rolled over the ocean, their luck ran out. The Ellen Austin stopped to wait out the fog. Once again, they lost contact with the nameless ship. Everyone waited, in total bewilderment. The only sounds were creaking wooden planks and waves gently slapping the bow. When the thick fog lifted, the ghost ship was gone forever. Along with all the crewmen and treasure, it was never seen again. It's a great story, sure. But did it actually happen? History confirms the Ellen Austin did sail between Liverpool and New York. However, records from Lloyd's Register in London prove that its 1,881 voyage had absolutely zero accidents. Even so, spooky stories about this area kept piling up. They carried right into modern times, spanning the entire 20th century. The real global obsession started after an incredibly famous tragedy in March 1918. The USS Cyclops, a 165-meter US Navy collier, was carrying over 300 crew members and 10,000 tons of manganese ore used for steelmaking. It departed Rio de Janeiro for Baltimore. After a brief stop in Barbados, it sailed north and vanished without a trace. Despite being equipped with distress gear, the Cyclops never sent an SOS. Massive search operations found zero wreckage. And that wasn't all. In 1941, two of the Cyclops' sister ships vanished into thin air along almost the exact same route. A 1920 excerpt from the Santa Fe magazine described it perfectly. She just disappeared, as though some gigantic monster of the sea had grabbed her, men and all, and dragged her into the depths. The strangest part, not a single ship along the Cyclops' entire route picked up a radio distress call. Years later, tragedy struck the same waters again. This fueled rumors that something bizarre was definitely happening. In December 1945, 5 US Navy TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale. Carrying 14 crewmen, they were on a routine bombing practice mission offshore. Due to obvious compass failures, the leader of this mission, Flight 19, became completely lost. He radioed the control tower. "We cannot be sure of where we are." 20 minutes later, for unknown reasons, command was handed over to another pilot. Flight 19 left one final message. "We seem to be entering white water. We are completely lost." The 5 planes flew aimlessly until they ran out of fuel and were forced to ditch at sea. On the very same day, a rescue plane carrying 13 crew members also vanished. A massive, week-long search turned up no evidence. The official US Navy report concluded that they had seemingly flown to Mars. To this day, no wreckage, pilots, or trace of the planes has ever been found. Things were getting highly suspicious. This weird zone wasn't just swallowing ships anymore. Now, it seemed anything flying overhead was doomed too. In December 1948, a British commercial airliner carrying about 30 people vanished, en route from the Azores to Bermuda. On January 30th of the following year, another plane of the same model mysteriously disappeared, flying from Bermuda to Jamaica. Neither plane was ever found. The unique nature of this area started with Columbus noticing compass anomalies. Yet, there had never been real evidence or a solid explanation. Someone needed to connect the dots and give this area a name: the deadly Bermuda Triangle. The name was coined by American writer Vincent Gaddis in the February 1964 issue of Argosy magazine. Draw a line from Florida to Bermuda. Draw another from Bermuda to Puerto Rico. And draw a third back to Florida through the Bahamas. Within this area, known as the Bermuda Triangle, the vast majority of disappearances occurred. Lacking hard facts, people started making wild guesses. Unsurprisingly, this captured the world's imagination. Instantly, like a detective cracking a serial killer case, all the mysteries were linked together. This article was the ultimate conspiracy fantasy. It implied dark forces were operating in the shadows. Keep in mind, this was during the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Conspiracy theories and rumors were everywhere. It was also an era where NASA and the scientific community were constantly filling in gaps, providing answers to many of humanity's puzzles. Yet the Bermuda Triangle stood out as a tantalizing, unexplainable phenomenon. Others quickly jumped on the Bermuda Triangle bandwagon. A flood of books was published, many becoming international bestsellers. The most popular one was The Bermuda Triangle by Charles Berlitz. Published in 1974, it sold 20 million copies in over 30 languages. For a book proposing mind-bending theories, those numbers were phenomenal. Nothing was off limits. Berlitz's theories blew up. When Steven Spielberg directed Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he literally scripted the Flight 19 crew as having been abducted by aliens. Berlitz tried to link the Bermuda Triangle to the legendary lost city of Atlantis. He claimed it sucked ships, planes, and people into the murky depths. This explained why so many vessels vanished. He also relied heavily on the paranormal to explain what he called impossible coincidences. For instance, Berlitz fixated on the fact that most missing planes and ships never sent distress signals before vanishing. He considered this proof of extraterrestrial intervention, or at least paranormal activity. Clearly, Spielberg took this to heart. But Berlitz didn't stop there. He suggested the triangle might be an underwater portal, a gateway transcending time and space, leading to another dimension or unknown realm. Similarly, he theorized it could be a designated spot on Earth where aliens abducted humans. For Berlitz, the possibilities were endless. The weirder, the better, even though his research methods were heavily scrutinized. But holding on to a mystery we don't fully understand is always captivating. That's exactly why the Bermuda Triangle myth has stood the test of time. Think about it. Humanity has scanned almost the entire globe. Could there really be something special about this one tiny, mysterious triangle? The truth is, we've had the answers for a long time. Not vague maybe or possibly guesses, but rock-solid facts. One recurring issue is navigation failure. We previously mentioned Columbus's compass anomalies and Flight 19's total loss of bearings. In almost every Bermuda Triangle mystery, you'll read this sentence: "It is one of only two places on Earth where a compass points to true north rather than magnetic north. The other is the Dragon's Triangle off the coast of Japan. Could this cause compasses to fail and send ships and planes wildly off course?" Let's briefly explain how a compass works. The needle is pulled by Earth's magnetic field, pointing to the magnetic North Pole. This spot slowly moves. But the true North Pole on our maps is completely fixed. There's a gap of about 1,200 kilometers between the two. Because these two norths are different, the compass reading will be slightly off. This is called magnetic declination. In the past, there was an agonic line where both norths perfectly aligned. On this line, a compass wouldn't deviate. But people realized long ago that this line is slowly drifting west. So, navigators flying planes or steering ships must manually correct this deviation, otherwise they drift off course. But here is the kicker. The Bermuda Triangle has no special compass magic. It's just a standard geographical phenomenon, the exact same as anywhere else on Earth. While the agonic line did once pass through the Bermuda Triangle, it has now shifted to the Gulf of Mexico. This largely invalidates the theory that magnetic declination causes triangle disappearances. The problem with the compass failure theory is that calculation errors can cause a plane or ship to veer off course absolutely anywhere. It also assumes that veteran pilots and sea captains passing through this area don't know how to correct for magnetic declination. That's simply unrealistic. Not to mention, the vast majority of ships and planes cross this region completely unharmed. You might also notice that these accidents, especially at sea, rarely leave wreckage. A logical explanation is actually quite simple: severe weather. We all know that hurricane season runs right through the center of this area. Just look at the devastation in this region in recent years. Some theorists point to rogue waves as the reason many ships never reach their destinations. These freak, massive waves can reach heights of 30 meters. Rogue waves are absolutely real. Roughly 1 in every 10,000 waves is a rogue. The first officially recorded one was the Draupner wave in the North Sea on the 1st of January 1995, reaching a massive 25.6 meters. Then there's the massive impact of the Gulf Stream. This is a theory fully backed by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Environmental factors can easily explain some Bermuda Triangle disappearances. The Gulf Stream flows extremely fast along the western edge of the triangle. It is incredibly turbulent. This poses a massive challenge to navigation, especially for inexperienced sailors. Records show that parts of the Gulf Stream flow at 4 to 5 knots. That is 300 times faster than the Amazon River. If sailors fail to properly correct for this current, it can push them hundreds of kilometers off course. It can also swiftly wash away any trace of a disaster. An increasingly popular, and actually the latest, scientific theory revolves around methane. We mostly know it as a potent greenhouse gas from deep underground, but massive amounts of methane are trapped in sea floor sediments. In 2016, researchers at the Arctic University of Norway discovered giant craters off their coast. Some were up to 800 meters wide and 150 meters deep. They concluded these were formed by explosive releases of trapped methane from ocean sediments. It's exactly like a giant deadly bubble bursting upwards. Even though the researchers explicitly stated this had nothing to do with the Bermuda Triangle, other scholars, including Russian scientist Igor Yeltsov, eagerly made the connection. Naturally, the media went wild for this theory. To us, it's possible, but highly unlikely. It simply couldn't be the main culprit. Methane, geomagnetism, extreme Caribbean storm systems. It's obvious this area can be incredibly treacherous for planes and ships. These explanations are all perfectly logical. Science has demystified the Bermuda Triangle. But the truth is, these scientific explanations don't prove Bermuda is any more unique than anywhere else. When you strip away the tabloid magazines and scientific jargon, and instead look at real aviation and maritime accident data from the past few decades, comparing it with the rest of the world, a completely different story emerges. There are no anomalies, and that is the absolute truth. Nothing unusual is happening in the Bermuda Triangle. It doesn't even rank in the top 10 most dangerous waters globally. A marine casualty and pollution database analyzed over 150,000 records from 1982 to 2015. Out of roughly 9,000 analyzable incidents, only 361 occurred within the Bermuda Triangle. That's a mere 4%. This shows that the causes of accidents in the triangle perfectly match global patterns. The capsizing rate is actually slightly lower. This is likely because it's close to major trading ports, where sea conditions are generally calmer. What's even more fascinating, from 1982 to 2015, not a single accident in the Bermuda Triangle was officially classified as a disappearance. Shipping data up to 2021 shows that the annual global rate of ship accidents, including mysterious disappearances, is 1.8% out of the 8,634 ships that sailed through the Bermuda Triangle. Only 2 such incidents occurred. That's 0.02%. The risk of disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle is actually 90 times lower than the global average. Both Lloyd's of London and the US Coast Guard confirm this. The rate of lost ships in the Bermuda Triangle is statistically identical to any other part of the ocean globally. Over the past decade, annual global shipping losses have dropped by 70%. The area around the Bermuda Triangle doesn't even make a blip on accident statistics. Over the last 10 years, the South China Sea, Indochina, Indonesia, and the Philippines were the worst affected regions. The Eastern Mediterranean and the Black Sea ranked second. So, what about the planes flying overhead? Let's turn our attention to aviation accidents. Data covering all investigated accidents from 1962 to the present, including commercial and military flights, reveals the exact same conclusion. Yes, the disappearance of the Flight 19 bombers and various civilian airliner mysteries birthed the Bermuda Triangle legend. But a closer look at the data shows that most accidents happen during takeoff and landing, primarily concentrated around the Bahamas. Very few occur mid-flight to cause casualties. The only recorded commercial airliner crash was caused by pilot error during severe weather. Since 1965, there has only been one single aviation incident over Bermuda. A JetBlue flight hit severe turbulence, resulting in one injury. As for the famous Flight 19, audio recordings show that the lead pilot, Lieutenant Taylor, believed his compass had failed. He thought he was flying over the Florida Keys, but later analysis by ground crews proved he was actually southeast of an island in the Bahamas. Instead of flying west back to Florida, he kept flying east, deeper into the Atlantic. In other words, he simply got lost. Inside the triangle, the Bermuda Islands are hit by a severe tropical cyclone on average every 6 to 7 years. Smaller weather systems hit even more frequently. Even now in 2026, we can track, simulate, observe, and prepare for storms in advance. Yet they still cause massive destruction. Just imagine what it was like back in the day without our current technology. Ultimately, the story is always more entertaining than the truth. The conclusion is a bit of a buzzkill. There really is absolutely nothing special about the Bermuda Triangle. Undeniably, it is one of the most weather-battered regions on Earth. Therefore, it's no surprise that accidents have occurred over the centuries. But from a statistical standpoint, crossing the Bermuda Triangle is no riskier than anywhere else. That's all there is to it. So, sorry to disappoint. No aliens and no time travel portals. I'll leave you with one last question. If you ever sail across the Bermuda Triangle, would you dare dive down and take a look? Let's chat about it in the comments below.